All right, as we look ahead to that briefing by President Cyril Ramaphosa this afternoon on government's response to the violence and looting across the country, let's speak about the deployment of the army, something that was announced a couple of hours ago. The police presence has not stopped the looting. In fact, it's spreading even further. So will the deployment of the army have any impact? Professor Lindy Heinecken from Stellenbosch University joins us now to unpack this. Prof, thank you so much for making time. So my understanding is this deployment is taking place under Section 201 of the Constitution, which is more about cooperation with the police. What role will the soldiers be playing?
Well, I'm not 100% up to date, but obviously they will be playing a role in terms of roadblocks and in terms of providing backup to the police. So the President, according to the Constitution and the Defence Act, number 42 of 2002, does mandate the President to deploy the military and to preserve life, health, as well as property. One of the big concerns here is whether there has been any preventive measures put in place, and surely the intelligence community would have alerted both the military and the police that there would be riots, and one would have expected them to have at least some barricades and stuff being put up. So I would imagine that's one of the roles that the military would be playing. Yeah,
so in other words, they don't really have independent control and emergency powers, but they do have policing powers. What? So are they allowed to arrest members of the public and hand them over to the SAPS? What are the limitations?
Yes, precisely. So they will have the same powers as the police in terms of arrest. And then when the arrest takes place, they will have to then hand them over to the police.
Yeah. So this mandate was quite clear last year. They were meant to help the police, but things got out of hand, and as a result of their heavy-handedness, people ended up dying. What are the precautionary measures that need to be taken this time around, understanding what happened last year when they were deployed to offer similar assistance to members of the SAPS?
Yes, well, now this is one of the challenges that we face with deployments that take place at the pace that this has taken place. Is the requirement is that there must be some mission readiness training for the soldiers, that they have the proper training as well as the equipment, and of course have a code of conduct that pertains to the actual deployment. We saw this during COVID was being an issue, specifically with the Collins Causa case. So whether this is in place is one issue. Other big concern, of course, is that in 1994, the decision was taken not to deploy our Defence Force internally. So they are not trained and equipped to deal with riot control to the same extent that they were, let's say, under apartheid and in the early 1990s. So one is sending the military in with a basic skill set, which is to react with force when provoked. And this is always a challenge when deploying your military internally, when they have not been properly prepared for these types of missions.
Especially because in some areas tensions are high. We hear that live ammunition was actually used in some parts of Johannesburg over the weekend. And I imagine, should the same scenario play out where the soldiers are involved and they're at the receiving end, things could get out of control.
Yes, very, very definitely. I think when, the default is always using a minimum force, using the repertoire of skills that you actually have. But we must realize that both the military and the police fulfill different functions within society. And that different mandates, different ways of operations, and they are trained to use maximum force. So at what point are they going to be provoked or be allowed to use this maximum force? And this is the concern is always what the repercussions then there will be when they do that.
Obviously, Prof, this is not something to... Yeah,
what I'm saying is that the soldiers' code of conduct, and they've got a very clear code of conduct which was expanded upon under the revised code of conduct that was issued to the soldiers deployed during COVID, is of course the minimum use of force. But so it is, to what extent is minimum use of force then sufficient to be able to bring about control?
Yeah, and I was saying that this is obviously not something to applaud, the deployment of the SANDF, because the SAPS is a constitutionally mandated law enforcement to be policing and taking control when it comes to domestic crime. Is this an indication that the police have lost control? We know obviously capacity is an important issue here. Are we dealing here with a situation where police have just simply lost control, or are we dealing here with a situation where the protests and the looting is happening at the rate that the current capacity of the police is unable to handle?
Oh, no, definitely. As I said, the current capacity of the police, and most certainly the military, is limited in this regard. And of course, when the security forces are pushed to the point of confronting masses of crowds, then the last line of defense is, of course, using a maximum force.
All right. Yeah, Prof, thank you so much for coming through and helping us understand what the limitations of the SANDF members are under that section that they're deployed. They are deployed, as the Prof explains there, to be in cooperation with the SAPS.